Autism stems from differences in biology that have an influence on brain development. Autism is a lifelong condition. That doesn't mean that children can't make significant improvements in their language and
This week on the Bedroom Talk Show,
they can, just like all children. But children don't just go out of bed.
we're discussing first responders and autism.
I want to thank you, son. You teaching me patient, my thinking different. People
With your host, Crystal J. And this week's special guest is Nikki Stokes Harris. Stay tuned.
You feel my love. Me and your mommy always making you happy with kisses, hugs. They say you different because you hear what we say, just can't repeat it like a secret. It could have been worse, at least you breathe it like I'm dreaming. But I can't wake from this nightmare. I wipe tears. They said my son can't talk, how his life fared. I was dead. You was mimicking words and making sounds. Now you frown, feeling misunderstood. Jumped on the ground, feeling down. You a whole different child. I'm like, what happened? Feel like snapping. You were so full of life. Why people laughing? Keep on dancing, son. I got your back when it's said and done. I feel your spirit. I'll be right by your side while they making fun. Thank you, son. You teaching me patient, my thinking different. People wicked. They be calling you special. I call you gifted. Won't forget it. My whole life changed after a visit. I was lost. The doctor said you're autistic. Listen, I'm thankful for God and all his blessings. As a parent, I think about life from my son's perspective. I want to know, when they stare in your face, do you feel afraid? I'm not ashamed. Many might call you strange, just how they made. I want to know, do you know I'm your dad? Do you feel neglected on holidays? Do you feel any joy? Do you open presents? I want to know, do you get bullied from other kids? If I die, where would you go? Where would you live? I want to know. Will you survive if things change? I want to know. When I'm not around, could you maintain? You nonverbal. How would I?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bedroom Talk Show. It's your host, Crystal J. You know this month is all about autism for us. That's what we discussed on this whole platform this month. But you know I'm all about autism 365 days a year. But this week, this topic is going to be a little different, but it's a needed topic. Today we're discussing first responders and autism. And me being a Black parent and having a Black son on the spectrum don't make it no easier. So this conversation going to be very, very uncensored. And we're going to get into it with my special guest this week, Nikki Stokes.
Hi.
I cannot wait to interview her, you guys. Like I said, this episode is going to be a little bit different because we are talking about, first, I'm not sure how she want to start it because it's already Black men being killed on arm already. But to add they're on the spectrum is a whole nother ball game. So how you want to kick this off? Like, go ahead, Nikki. I'm gonna let you go first.
It's difficult. So I'm in mommy mode right now. So I have a 16-year-old named Roman who is the most beautiful thing in the world. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 2. He's non-vocal. He uses a communication device, and in the midst of everything that is happening right now with us, he is pretty much going through puberty. He's having meltdowns. And so it's a real life situation for me. We literally just had an epilepsy evaluation trying to find out and pinpoint the causes of these meltdowns. Because it's a very scary situation. We're right now looking at trials and we see cases of Black men that are shot and killed by the police. So as a mother, that's it always has been and is a fear for me. But with my youngest son, it's even more because he can't answer properly. He doesn't want you to touch him. So, and to top it off, I'm a dispatcher. I work with first responders. So I'm not just coming from a parent standpoint, it's actually seeing the cracks in the system and knowing what needs to be changed and trying to help other parents learn how to navigate it until it's changed.
But you know what gets me is they can't, you already said it early before we went live, they can't get past the Blackness. So how can they respond to somebody on the spectrum and they're not even trying to get past the Blackness? We not even let's forget about autism right quick. Let's think about it. They don't even know when they see somebody and they having a mental episode, how they respond. Like I see things like this. I like when people share memes, but that's not funny. That person probably was having a mental illness breakdown
Right.
at that moment. Like it looks different. Everything looks different. And of
Right.
course, they can't get past the neurotypical Black man and Black woman. And if you watched last week's episode, like, neurotypical, you guys mean society standard of normal. That is what people on the spectrum call people who are neurotypical, because you don't have, if you have nothing wrong with you, like bipolar, schizophrenic, it's and a whole bunch of other ones. That you are neurotypical, like I am neurotypical. But if they can't get past that, how can they get past the guys? Like I gave an example to a parent the other day. I said, sometimes you will never know that Black man you think is running, who's in fear. Maybe he have autism, or he's on the spectrum, and he's not aware. He's unaware that he's in danger. He's unaware of he's unaware of his surroundings. That is something that is real. That's a real issue with people on the spectrum and adults on the spectrum. But if the police is not getting the training, first responders not getting the training, how would they know that, oh, this child, that's a sign of autism, or that's a sign of mental illness? How would they know?
Right.
So they killing us like I say all the time. We are nothing but a target and a hashtag. I say it all the time. And my mom look at me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm so pro-Black. I just believe we're nothing but a target and a hashtag. That's all we become. We never get justice.
Yeah. And it's funny because I always find myself in spaces where, people are just like, why do you always have to add race? Why is it always a color thing? Because it is.
It is. Look at it.
It is. With just being in like those spaces, because, the autism community is very accepting, because it's like, we get it. But I'm usually the person that's just like, hey, you get it, but you don't get it like this. Because it's a real thing, like the situation with Elijah McClain, when they called the police and they said that someone's suspicious. He didn't do anything suspicious. He was being Black. He was Black in a neighborhood. That's what he was doing. Wow. So, I always explain, yes, my son's autistic, but you're going to see a Black child who, I can't even say child, adolescent, because he's 16, he's a teenager. You're going to see a Black teenager that's yelling, or, what we know are vocalizations because he's nonverbal. Somebody's going to say, okay, there's a Black kid that doesn't belong here that's yelling and making noise. That's going to generate a disturbance call to the police.
Right. And
or
that is true.
Right. Or if it's a situation where he is having a meltdown and someone's calling to get help, and they say, okay, I have a child here who's having a meltdown. I know in our city, it's going to create a call for a psych case. A call for a psych case is going to generate a call to the police department and the fire department. And then usually the police are going to be asked to secure the scene. We're dealing with children here. Me personally, I don't feel as though for medical calls, someone with a gun should be on scene. If you know it's a medical call, it's a medical issue, police aren't trained in that. So basically, and like I said, I get it, because I have friends and family members that are police officers. I have friends and family members that work on medics, some that work on fire trucks, dispatch, across the board. So I get it. I personally don't feel like a police officer who's never dealt with someone with autism should even be brought in and put in that situation to de-escalate something that they have no training whatsoever doing. It's like no different with doctors. You would never ask a brain surgeon to come in and do a heart surgery.
Nope.
Granted, they're both surgeons, but you just wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have a brain surgeon operating on your heart. So, and there are police officers that are being put in situations where they shouldn't be. That's not their lane. So, for me, and like I said, because I work with officers, and I'm raising a Black autistic son, I see the balance on both sides. But it's, you have to change that system, and you have to acknowledge that there's an issue and there's a problem there. Because if, you're white and you have an autistic son, and you think your son's level of danger is equal to mine, and you don't understand how him being a Black child impacts having those run-ins with law enforcement. Like, if you can't look at TV right now and see how that's an issue, it's not going to be solved, because we're just running in circles trying to act like things don't exist that do.
I think people who don't see what's going on, but it's been going on for a long time. Look at the Rodney King beating.
Right.
That should have showed us then. It's been going on for a long time. And if you can't address that it's a problem in the system, and when people say, I always got to bring up race, I say, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Look at the stats. If I seen a video of this Caucasian guy running away from the police, they tried to calm him down. They did not shoot him. They did not feel like they was in danger, as they always say. I felt threatened. You didn't feel threatened. It's a Black man, and you just want to. You have a license to kill, and you just want to kill us.
I said this to one of my friends the other day. I said, what people forget, it is been normalized. It's been conditioned to inflict harm on Black bodies in this country. That's the norm.
That's deep.
When you think about it, lynchings took place and they advertised them on church brochures. White children were brought to lynchings to see Black women, men, and children hung from trees and set on fire.
And that wasn't, what's crazy?
And that wasn't that long ago.
That wasn't long ago. That's right. That's the crazy thing. People went right. When you look at the pictures, they always in black and white, and color photography was a thing back then.
Yeah.
Why is it?
And that's what people don't realize, that this is coming from. Inflicting harm on us is normal. It's conditioned. It's been the practice of this country since we've been here.
Yes.
So unfortunately, what ends up happening is, if it's a Black victim, it does not emote the same type of response or feelings of empathy that it does when it's someone else. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. I don't know if you ever saw the movie A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel Jackson. And so this movie, Samuel Jackson, they lived in a town in the South, and Samuel Jackson's daughter was beaten and raped by two white men. Samuel Jackson found them and killed them, and he was on trial for their murder in this town. The jury was nothing but white people in the town. And so as Matthew McConaughey was giving his closing argument, he described what happened to this little girl. It was horrible. They raped her. She would never be able to have children. And he went into depth and described what they did to this girl. And he said at the end to the all-white jury, now imagine she was white. And they got it. If you cannot put yourself in the position or in the same place as these Black men, women, and children that are dying, you are not going to get it. It wasn't until those people, and granted, it's a movie, but it was a really important point. If you do not see us as human beings, as an equal, you're never going to be able to empathize with what is happening to us. And I think that is what the problem is. People are just, I have a Black friend, and that okay. Slave owners had Black children. That doesn't mean that there isn't a problem. You know what I mean? And part of it is recognizing it, and once doing better, because it's not going to fix itself overnight. If you've been taught something, this is normal, like this is your family history, this is normal, this is what you do, then of course you're not going to see anything wrong with it. But being able to recognize, like, hey, no, this is a problem. This is something we have to do. And how can we fix it? you have to start there. You have to start somewhere. But you know, it's that conditioning. It's us not being seen as equal. Some people feel like, oh, because you have rights now, it doesn't exist. You know, the fact that we are still having Black firsts, like we have first Black Olympic swimmers, and we have, you know, first gymnasts, like all of these awards that we're still having. Beyonce was like the first Black female artist to headline Coachella. Like all of these firsts let you know that clearly we are behind every single curve there is. Like we're behind all of it. There's no reason, if this country is equal and loving and accepting, that we are still having firsts for Black people.
Or are we still even having these conversations about Black people and police brutality? Like,
Right.
isn't it crazy that we're still having these conversations?
Yes.
It's 2021.
And the thing that baffles me, which it shows that there is not even like a level of recognition, is the George Floyd trial. And I have to forgive myself because George Floyd's not even on trial here. His murder is on trial. The fact that this trial is taking place and this woman shot another man in the same
Taser. I was like,
same place, and your response is she did not know the difference between, after 26 years of service, she mistook her service weapon for a taser. So if in 26 years she does not know the difference between a taser and a service weapon, I would love to see what type of harm she has inflicted on Black bodies during those 26 years of service.
I agree. And I asked somebody, isn't the taser and the gun different weights?
Yes.
And they said yes. And I said,
different weights. One has the bright yellow.
Yes, the yellow thingy, right? That's what I said. And I said, she's in the video, I seen it. I it was on TikTok. And I was like, what is this? And I watched it. And she was saying taser, taser. I said, you said that to save yourself. You said it to save yourself. I don't see how, if nobody else see that video and see, she did not say that. She said it to save herself.
That's the fact that the chief of police then got on TV and offered that as an explanation, like it was.
I was like, you did not just say that,
and said it very matter of factly.
I was like, no,
because I did, and we have these conversations. If I go outside right now and I get in my car and I accidentally hit someone and kill them, I probably will receive some type of jail time. It wasn't my intention. It was a complete accident. I was just driving. So I don't understand why we are not holding trained individuals to the same standards that we would hold regular citizens to.
It doesn't make any sense. And you know what's, it's a lot of things I don't understand. Like today on the way here, on the way back home, the ambulance, what they think their lights on. So we all thought it was emergency. So we're on the highway on Atlanta, 75. So we all stopped to let him go, let them go. Once they get to a certain point, do you know what they did? They cut it off. And I stuck in my head. And I was like, it's traffic A, this is rush hour B, and we thinking you trying to save a life, and you just cut it on to get through traffic.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. And I said, this is funny. The episode I'm about to have today is about first responders. And first responders are not held they're not held accountable for their actions, in my point, in like how I feel.
I think it depends. What I have seen is no different than most places. It depends on who it affects.
If it affects
if the right person,
you know who the right person is to get affected, and it's so sad to say that, and I don't understand that. I get it, because you already said we've been conditioned, which I agree, and it been conditioned to treat Black people like we're less than. It means like when I hear the term monkey, that's how they looked at us back then. And to this
Mhm.
day, some of them still look at us like that. Some people of different races don't see black people as nothing
Mm-mm.
more than a nigger or a
Yeah.
nigga. And I
It,
said it because I can say it because I'm a black woman. But if another race say, I'll be like, what? But it's the reality. And you know what I just told this lady in this place today? One thing a lot of people don't understand in the black community, we have to have this. It's unfair that we have to have this conversation with our kids about when you get pulled over, please don't do this. When you please say this or do this. We have to sit down and have these in-depth
yeah.
conversations with our kids before they even hit 16, which
Mhm.
is unfair to the black parent. Do you
Yeah.
understand? And then like when you have a child like mine who's unaware of danger, I'm
Mhm.
he stems a lot. He have a lot of sensory. So
Mhm.
like him, if he got pulled over, I don't even know what I would do. It's like my fear. I can't even watch when they see us. I can't even get past the first 15 minutes of that alone.
I didn't even attempt to watch
I
that
didn't
one.
attempt it.
I'm
I
not
didn't,
doing it.
I
I
didn't attempt
can't.
it. I was like this. I said this feels too relevant. I can't watch this. So I cut it off.
Yeah.
And me having a black son is like number one. Then before I even had my son, I wrote him a dear unborn son letter. And that letter I wrote it at 23. To this day, that letter is still accurate. And I'm
Mhm.
31 years old. I
Wow.
had my son when I was 27. And I don't even read it out loud because I get so angry and I get so pissed when I read it. Like me thinking about that letter that I wrote to
Mhm.
him when I was 23, I was so mad. And when Michael Brown got killed
Mhm.
and they let him lay in the street like he was
Yes.
a fucking animal. That
Yeah.
that pissed me off. Then
I think what I do is I do the opposite. Like that's why I can't watch certain movies. Like
American Boy or the one with
yeah,
Kerry Washington.
I
I
haven't watched
didn't even
any of
try.
those.
I didn't even
And,
try.
and what I do is, and maybe it's just because of my spiritual upbringing and just my spiritual life period. I know that my words are powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will not engage or watch anything that causes me to be fearful. Because I always feel like faith and fear, like I walk this fine line, like if you're going to have faith, you can't be fearful. But I also know that danger is a thing. Fear is our response to it. And so instead of being fearful, I try to be proactive. And I try to equip my sons with the necessary tools that they need to navigate through anything. So like you said, so it is unfair, and for lack of a better word, it sucks ass that we have to have these conversations with our children. However, because we know that it's necessary, it is our job to equip them with the tools. So God forbid if they do get pulled over, they know how to respond. They know how to react. Because it is a very real thing. Just with my sons, like I said, my oldest will be 21. My stepson Jalen is 19, and then Roman is 16. So they are three completely different kids. Like I have a spectrum when it comes to my sons. Like they're all different. So, just learning to figure out how they learn, how they communicate, all of those things. And the same way that I would try to prep Nick for those instances where he might get pulled over, him and Jalen, I try to figure out what things that I could do to help Roman if he should get pulled over. So in my case, like I said, because I have friends and I know people that are dispatchers. So like what I did was when we were having issues with him eloping, I got in contact with the dispatchers who took care of our area. So I said, hey, look, Roman gets out of the house. I need you to be on the listen in case you get somebody wandering, somebody in this area. It's probably him.
Can you
Um,
tell people who are watching who don't know what elopement means? I actually just deleted that definition as you was talking. I didn't know you was gonna use that term.
oh no,
But
it's fine.
can you explain that
Yes.
to them?
So eloping is basically running away or escaping from where you are. So what Roman would do is, because like Krista said, he does not have this fear factor. Like he's fearless. It doesn't matter. Like if Chick-fil-A pops into his head, he's gonna try to walk to Chick-fil-A. And what I have learned is I always presume that he understands. I always give him the benefit of the doubt. He knows where he's going. He knows how to get there. Like once he's seen it, I never take for granted what he understands and processes and holds on to. So he would get out of the house. So one time he got out of the house. A lady saw him and found him, called the police, and they put him in the back of the police car. And so how we actually found him was he somehow synced my contacts from my iPhone to his iPad. So when the police found him, he had his iPad. And so they scrolled through the iPad and they started recognizing the names of dispatchers. And so they called, and this is to show you that everybody is not aware of the signs, symptoms, or anything of autism. They called and said, hey, do you know a deaf kid that has an iPad? And so everybody's like, we don't know any deaf kids. What are you talking about? And they said, we found this little boy, he's deaf, and he has an iPad. So when they said the iPad, my friends were like, as soon as they said iPad, we knew it had to be Roman. And so they called, and they were calling my mom, and he had turned my phone off, so my phone wasn't ringing. And, long story short, we were able to find him that way. But from that point on, it was, you have to be two, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of this kid. So how do we do it? So, we put in alarms. We put pressure sensors on the window. So like once he hit the window a certain level, the alarm will go off. Even that, he figured out how to take the batteries out. I don't even know how he knew it had batteries, but again, that's never.
I will have to talk to you when my son turns like
right. That's
on that, because my question to you is, hearing them say, a deaf kid, and they didn't know the signs that he was on the spectrum. How did that make you feel as a mom and a first responder?
As a mom, it was a reality moment. It was like, oh, like you got to get on top of this, like action plan. For me, I've always been like that mom. When something happens, I don't freak out in the moment. Like I always have my wits about me, because I'm like, you got to figure it out. Now, don't get me wrong, because once the day settles, I'm gonna break down and cry in that closet and probably try to pull half my hair out. But one of the things that I'm very
What is an action plan? I see you use that, so I wanted to get into that too.
You said action plan?
I heard you say you create an action plan.
Yeah, so pretty much like, if this happens, what are we going to do? So like in school, we give our kids like, if then, like if you do this, then this. So literally, I just realized, number one, I've got to be 2 steps ahead of him, because this kid is super, super smart. And then I have to be able to give people who should have resources that don't have them, the resources to keep my child safe. That's pretty much what it was. I accepted they don't have training. They don't know this. They don't know that. And you know what? They ain't never going to get it unless somebody tell them. So for me, I'm action oriented. I'm like, I need to move. I need to do something. Like if I know, for instance, y'all don't know these things, who do I need to speak to? Do you need a volunteer? I can give you the signs. This is what my son does. This is where he is. I even reached out to try to find like the officers that patrol that area, so I could say, look, I know y'all get stuff in roll call. Y'all really don't pay attention, but I would call the police. So they would come to my house and be like, hey, this is your post. We live in your post. This little guy likes getting out of the house. So I try to make them familiar with my son, so that way,
that's a great idea.
If something happens and they hear it over the radio, they're like, that's Roman. So for me, it was about creating community, because somebody gonna call the police on them no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, so being able to stay steps ahead of situations so that you're as ready as you can be before they happen. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, it is what it is. Until we change the system, our children are gonna have interactions with police.
And you know what? I think the only way we can change the system is if somebody told me this like 3 weeks ago. What today is? No, somebody told me this 19 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 18 days ago. They said, Crystal, I'm gonna tell you something. I said, what? They said you're gonna have to run for office in the future to get these bills in place, to get all these changes you need for autism in place. And I looked at her and I said, girl, leave me alone. Because she's in New York. She's a special needs advocate. She's an autism advocate.
Okay.
And she's running for office right now. And she said, Crystal,
Yay.
she's having her little prototype. She said, I'm going to get you together. So by the time Zachariah is this age, you're going to be running for office. And I said, no, I'm not. She said, you are. I'm going to do that. And you talking just made me realize how right Nicole was. Oh, she said it to me. She said the only way you're gonna make changes in your state is if you run. And if you lose, it don't matter because you put in the awareness out there. And I looked at her, I was like, you want little old me to run for office.
But you know what? Like, I don't want to run for office or anything like that. What I ended up doing was, because I think I told you, like, I'm a crochet artist. So I crochet like hats, scarves, artwork, designs, and I started making sensory products. So, you know, during the pandemic, our kids didn't have access to school, and that's where most of their sensory rooms are. So that's how I built one in my home. And for me, it always like translated to, well, if Roman needs it, there's a whole community of kids that needs it. So how are we going to fix it for them? So even like in elementary school, when he needed an iPad, well, his classmates don't have one. So I did a fashion show and we bought iPads for the class. So I started grant writing, and I'm literally trying to create a nonprofit where we cater to Black and brown children who are living with autism, their families, and we are a resource, whether it's getting them diagnosed, whether it's walking parents through IEP meetings, whether it's creating sensory panels, walls, tabletops for home so we can manage our children's behavior at home, whether it's, you know, creating these rooms or having schools, rec centers, businesses, so that we can make our communities inclusive to our children. The best thing that we ever had was making Roman a part of our community, like getting his haircut. It used to be the worst thing in the world. His dad used to have to hold him and restrain him while he got his haircut. And we had the same barber that worked with us for years. Now I can take Roman to get a haircut, and Roman gets in the chair by himself. He waits. There's no restraining. There's no crying. There's no screaming. Had it not been for our barber working with him and understanding, like, and being patient, and the people coming into the barbershop was like, oh, that's Roman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was always this welcoming place. Whereas if he got out in the neighborhood, somebody would recognize him at least. You know what I mean? Like, somebody would be able to help. Somebody would notice something. So that's why I say I'm always an action person. It's like, they're not going to fix it for us. Don't nobody ever fix the issue for you. Like, it takes someone who has a sincere, honest, vested interest in what the problem is to jump in and fix it.
But they have to see the problem first.
Right.
And because we already seen 2 deaths, like Stephanie Watts, who got killed in February 2012, who was 15. He was on the spectrum. He still have not got justice for his death, and he was killed by the police, and that was 2012. And it's the same thing with the Elijah McCain, on the spectrum, 21, and he did nothing wrong but be Black in America. Isn't that crazy how you can die being Black in America? Isn't that not insane?
It's but again, like, it's nothing new.
It's nothing new.
You know what I mean? I think that's the part that I still grapple with is it's not new.
It's not new.
We just have cell phones and cameras and Instagram and social
To
media
report it. That's
to
it.
report it. Because if you think about it, remember Genesis 6. Can you imagine what would have happened if it was not that level of media?
You know what's crazy? I remember Genesis 6. I was a senior in high school, and we all decided to black out and walk out at a certain time. We all wore all black, and I would not forget it. It was like, this really happened. It really happened. And it was like we just learned about slavery. Like, and it's that right there. And then you know what's crazy? This right, like we just talked about this. My son is stimming in the background. And somebody would call and there would be a noise complaint, them not knowing he's stimming, he's nonverbal, so he's he's vocally stimming right now.
Right.
And that
see,
actually,
you know the ones that know, we don't even flinch. Oh, yeah, okay, that's part of the background noise.
Right.
So, look, the only reason it's quiet is because Roman is with my mom right now because I work at 5 o'clock in the morning. But otherwise, it would be the same thing happening here.
Yeah, it's verbal, it's verbal stimming. And a lot of people don't realize that. And then him being nonverbal, when you said that the police thought he was deaf.
Right.
He's not deaf. He understands you. He just can't can't vocally say,
right,
I have autism. Now you know what the police need training on? The speaking devices. Because he can put he can put he can put it in the device if they know, they're going to get the iPad. The iPad is a speaking device.
Right.
But
I actually participated in like a training session with the county police. It was the Autism Society of Baltimore, of Maryland, the Chesapeake chapter. We actually sat in with police officers to explain to them, like, these are some of the things that you want to look out for. Even, you know, the terms high functioning and low functioning aren't, like, that's not even adequate, because someone that you consider high functioning is not giving, they're not given the grace of the issues and things that they have to deal with because of their autism.
You know,
and you would think that they're not responding.
I don't like that term.
I don't either.
You know, I don't like that term. I just told a parent that, and I don't know if I rubbed the parent the wrong way. I was at a place today, and it's a sensory, it's gym, and it's made for kids on the spectrum. And she was talking about, she said high functioning, and I corrected her. I said it's no such thing. She said, well, that's what the doctors say. I said, okay. She was explaining her son. I said, your son is in his 20s and you're still helping him. But I wasn't trying to be offensive to her, because I was really just saying, I don't like that term high functioning, low functioning, because the spectrum is this big, but why do we have to use that term? Because when they're considered high functioning, they don't get a lot of help. They don't get resources. Right. But it's like, I don't like the term high functioning, low functioning. I just don't. At the end of the day, they still have autism.
Yeah, I think what I found is what human beings do with everything. We try to regulate or make something okay. Like, she's autistic, but she's high functioning, or he's autistic, and most autistic children that are non-vocal or non-verbal are considered low functioning.
They are.
And for me, my thing is, if it's a deaf person, you don't say they're low functioning
or high functioning,
or how high functioning. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, I feel like, again, people are trying to categorize things. It's like, it's hard. Like, I'm with you. I don't like it at all, because I feel like, for instance, with Roman, that's why I always assume he understands. I never take for granted that he doesn't, because just because he can't verbally communicate it doesn't mean he doesn't know what it is. It doesn't mean that he doesn't understand it, because he has a communication device. So if he has a communication device, he can type it. Most of the time we're texting and typing anyway all day long. So you would never say to me, I'm low functioning because I'm simply choosing to text all day. You know what I mean? So
And
it's,
I tell you, that's why I hate it. Like, and it's. And I told the parent that when she explained, she was
I gotta grab my
describing
charger
her
real
son.
quick.
It's okay. She was describing her son or whatever. I was like, I said, I said, let's think about that term. And I made her think, and I was just like, I don't think that we should use that term. Like, so the doctors told me, I'm gonna be honest, they told me my son was high functioning. And I looked at them and I was like, no, I'm not gonna use that term. Like
Right.
it just, I'm not, and I have not used it since he was diagnosed. Nobody has never seen me make a post, anything. Oh, my son is high functioning, because it doesn't make sense. Why are we? But I get it. Now, to a certain point, I will use a term when it's certain conversation, when I'm in certain rooms and certain conversations about how autistic people feel. I'm like, okay, so y'all just disregarding the people who y'all say on the lower end of the spectrum. That's the only time I bring up the
Right.
terms high functioning, low functioning. But I tried to bring it up because
I
when
think
you,
what I found, especially with my sons
mm-hmm,
and working with kids, a lot of the things, a lot of the supports and allowances that I made for Roman,
mm-hmm,
when you sit back and think about it, are allowances and supports that we really should do for all children. Like when you give, kind of like when we're trained how to give our kids on the spectrum like directions, we should be specific and give one direction at a time. You really should do that anyway. You know what I mean? Like with small children, you shouldn't give them multiple step directions of it initially. You should slow walk it, like start here and then do it. You know, when you say to somebody, put this over there, put it where? Like you're implying that they know where it is. So the one thing with Roman that it really made me look at how I examine and process things myself, because I'm like, really, the way he processes it is the simple way, is the easy way. So I always remind myself, like, what if our autistic kids actually walk through and process the world the right way and we do it backwards? Like, even like when you look at our language and vocabulary, like words that sound the same but are spelled different and don't mean the same. Like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, why do we have silent letters? You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a stretch, but I'm just thinking, like, what if there's simple,
you try to
direct,
put yourself in your kid.
yeah, like, what if their simple, direct way of thinking is really the right way? Because if there were more autistic people in the world than what we say is neurotypical, we would be operating the way that they operate. And they wouldn't be special needs. It, you know what I mean? Like we would be considered special needs. So I always look at it like it's, you know, it's that ratio, it's that variable. What are they comparing to? Like, you know, like Einstein said, if you are comparing how well a fish can fly to a bird, like it's not going to make sense. You know, like with my son's IEP and his some of his courses, there was a point where he had to take certain standardized tests. And I took him and put him on a certificate track program because it made no sense for him to have the same requirements as his brother, who didn't have any of the delays that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a thing where he had to answer verbally. Why are you testing him on his ability to answer verbally when he
That,
is
is,
a
that just
non-vocal,
happened to me.
non-verbal? Yeah, like what are
It
you
just happened to me. And I had to amend the IEP. I was like, what?
right.
I said verbally. I was like, no.
Why are we doing this?
I asked them one question. I said, make this make sense. You want a non-vocal child to answer you verbally? After I said it, they said, okay, Miss Jordan. I said, I'm recording this IEP because this don't make no sense. I don't remember signing this because I read everything. And I said, when did y'all put he got to answer something verbally?
I know that was like standard, whatever this standardized test taken here.
Mm-hmm.
So Roman has always been blessed that he had teachers that said, okay, this is how the state says we have to do it, but this is how we're going to do it to determine what he knows. Because, you know, the people from the state, like the explanation, well, he needs to say it verbally so that we know that he knows it. But he's going to use his device to say blue. In order for him to use his device to say blue, he has to recognize the color, which means he knows it's blue. Whether he says it out of his mouth or not, it doesn't matter. You know it's blue. If the boy says azul, like, you know it's blue. He knows it's blue. So it's again, it's trying to put them into this box of what, you know, educators have decided this is the way to do it. Well, we already know every child does not learn the same.
No.
Nobody learns the same. So, you know, I always feel like it's unfair to even have these tests, because what are you testing? Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, wait a minute, make this make sense. You're asking my non-vocal, non-verbal child, you know, and I can't even say, you know, non-verbal, because he does get words out sometimes.
That's
but
why
you're
I say non-vocal.
Yeah, but you're asking him to say a word, and if he does not say it, you're going to tell me he doesn't understand it. No, that's what his device is for. Because if you show him the color blue, he's going to recognize that it's blue and use the device and make it say blue. Like,
I'm
why?
working to get the device as we speak, so that's what I'm working on to get. Right now, we use PECs. We use a PEC system.
Okay, so his school doesn't want to do it, or
I haven't asked
process?
the school. I'm getting it through his private insurance.
Okay.
So I'm getting it through his speech therapist. That's the process. On the school, my issue with the school is if we can't keep it, I don't want him to have it.
Why can't you keep it?
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't even checked with my school about that, because I already had my plan, as you say, action plan. I already had my plan in motion. So, but yeah,
so this is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
When we get off here, you gonna send me your school information, and we gonna browse through that handbook, because I'm almost positive if your child requires a speech device, the school is obligated to provide one for him.
Okay, we can do that.
We're gonna investigate that. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I love my guests. We learn from each other. Like, especially this whole month of autism, we've been looking at each other. Like, after I get off live, we all just be like, "Girl, I need that."
I
community is strong.
Yes, I refuse for everything that I have gone through, learned.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to hold that information to myself, because he's 16. He'll be 17 in December. It's a lot up here. And even now, what I'm going through, the process with him and residential placement with school, and, you know, dealing with these meltdowns, the whole system that is set up is trash. It's trash. I told the head of the psychiatry department, you know, the system is trash, right? Because if I say to you, I don't feel safe taking him home, what are my options? You're like, well, we don't know. You can take him to the emergency room. You can stay in the emergency room until a neuro behavior bed is ready. Like, this is not, I have more resources than the average person because I started early. So Roman is on the autism waiver. He has, I think he was like 11 when he got on the waiver. I'm pretty sure it's like an 8 or 9 year wait list to get on the waiver for some of the services. So even the services that he has, they don't have adequate providers to provide for all of his services. So you still
a waiver. You teaching me, because, you know, my son's only 4, so I'm really literally learning resources.
Yes. Okay, so which state are you in again?
Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to research this. So in Maryland, there's this thing called the autism waiver. So basically, it provides services such as insurance services, respite care, therapeutic integration, which is a program that you can do like after school. So pretty much Roma has always been on my private insurance, but anything that my insurance, because of course they make you use your insurance first. But I think if you don't have insurance and you qualify for Medicaid, they can go through that. But the waiver is separate because it looks at him as an individual because he's autistic. So it doesn't count my income or anything like that because he's autistic and he has these needs. So there's basically like a qualifying process, and it looks at his skills, the things that he can do, the things that he can't. He qualifies for these services. So that's like when Roman, like I said, when he got out of school, he would go to a program after school and they would work with him there. We have an amazing respite counselor. Well, not respite, a support counselor that has worked with Roman for the past 5 years. Treats him like a little brother. And I am so grateful and thankful for him, because I probably would have lost my mind without him. And so the waiver covers that for us. We get respite hours, which we don't use them.
I think we have something similar to that, because I just learned about it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm supposed to research it because it's free for people on the spectrum in Georgia. But
right. So
I think we have that. I don't know the name of it.
So so you probably can just Google like Georgia autism waiver.
Okay, I am.
And or go through like your local I always remember the initials. I never remember the whole thing. DDA, like disability resources or whatever. So it will be in that cluster of things. But I would just start with Georgia autism waiver, because if it's anything like here and your son's 4, you probably need to put him on the wait list now. And so
I was literally just thinking that when you said it.
No, you definitely need to. And so with the autism waiver, basically it covers him until he's 21, because with schooling, he's able to stay in school until he's 21. So the waiver follows him through school. And then once he hits 21, he would switch over to social services and DDA, I believe. Forgive me if I'm messing up the order, but I know the waiver covers him until 21. So
when we get off live, I'm most definitely, you're my new friend.
Yes, but I mean, even things like that, like once I get everything up and running, because I'm speaking this thing into existence. That is my goal, to be able to do that for other parents. Like, are you on the waiver? Did you do this? Did you do that? All right, well, we can't do this yet, but you know what I mean? Get those action plans in place so that when you get to it, is done. Because the emotional and mental struggles that you are going to have to deal with for this journey, no one could have convinced me that it was going to be like this. And nobody could have convinced me that I was going to work my way through it. And even now, in the midst of it, the thing that I am thankful for are my friends, my village, God for sustaining me. But that work that I put in back then is making this journey easier now. Like, if I was trying to navigate this without a waiver, I don't know what I would be doing. I don't. So I just, and that's why I said, just as a mom, I know what I went through, and I know what I was able to get done because of the support I had. And it's my job, it's my duty to take all of this information and filter it back, because our kids are getting diagnosed less. The diagnosis is coming later. So they're already behind for resources. We have kids right now that are in regular classrooms that should not be, that are being deemed behavior problems.
That's crazy.
No, it's not a behavior problem. He has sensory processing disorder. You know what I mean?
I literally just said that in another interview a couple days ago.
Yeah. I've had parents walk up to me and like, how did you get your child an iPad? How did you get your child a special school? And the things that they're telling me, and I'm like, dude, what? No, we're not supposed to do that. Sit down, write this out, and figure it out.
And then we don't know. We don't know. A lot of parents don't know, and a lot of parents don't even speak about their child having special needs or being on the spectrum because they're afraid, or they think people are going to judge them. And it's like I said, it's funny you said about the behavior thing, because that is a true thing, that they look at us as a behavior problem, and not behavior. Have you took time to really look at the things that you're doing or see what is? That's so crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, that's the other thing. We got to get over the stigma. We like, it's everything for us. Mental health. I will happily tell people I had 2 therapists at one time at a point in my life, because I needed help with my emotional and personal life. And then I needed help with my job and my career. And I had two very different people who helped me, process all of that. Like, we have to get beyond that. Like, if our kids have developmental delays, that doesn't mean it's going to impact them forever. It will definitely impact them if we don't get them the help early that they need,
Right.
Because we can help them get over that hurdle. It's easier to help them deal with it when they're in preschool and kindergarten versus middle school when things get super awkward, and high school. Like, it's easier the earlier you start. And so, like you said, we have to let that stigma go and being afraid of being judged. And the piggyback, that's I think where the high functioning and low functioning kind of comes in too, because it's almost like they're trying to validate, like, he's not really slow, or he's super smart. And and I tell people all the time, they're all of these kids are smart, and in whatever way they're smart. They're geniuses in whatever way it is. It just they probably waiting for us to catch up.
Oh my God. Somebody told me the other day, they said, oh my God, Zachariah is so smart. Most kids on the spectrum are smart. How about all kids are smart in their own way? Like, what? They was like, I think you didn't defend me. I'm just telling you, maybe all kids are smart. And just because he have autism don't mean he's going to be some genius. Maybe all kids are geniuses and they're smart in their own individual way. We have to change our mindset. And I think it's all in our mindset.
Yeah.
The audience have any questions for my guests? Because y'all know we have questions, but they don't have any questions today. That's a shocker. But you guys, we'll be back in 45 seconds. We'll be back. It'll be a commercial break. Hi, my name is Crystal Jordan, and I'm not sure if you're aware, I am dropping a autism awareness coloring book. Yes, and it's called Just Like You. I cannot wait to share it with you. You can share it with your friends, your family, your teachers, even the doctor offices. You can have it in hospitals. When I drop this coloring book, I want the world to be amazed, because autism is a social disorder, but it's not a death sentence. And if you don't know, my son is my inspiration. So the name of my new brand is called Zachariah's World. And I'm so excited to share a piece of me with the world. And I hope that my son Zachariah is very appreciative of what I'm doing to bring awareness to this social disorder. Thank you. And you can follow me at Zachariah's Words, or follow Zachariah's updates, or you can follow me at I am Crystal Jordan, or you can go to www.zachariahworld.com. Once again, www.zachariahworld.com. In the coloring book, did I even mention I'm dropping a book? That will be available on Amazon. And my website, Zachariah's World, will be available soon as well. I cannot wait to share this journey with you guys. Thank you guys so much. So that was my little commercial break, you guys. I like to give my guests like a breather, and then I like to always promote myself, because I feel like people be so afraid to push their work and push the things they're working so hard for. Like, no, like, if I'm going to push this coloring book, I'm going to push it, because I know that it's terms in there. Like, you already used some of the terms today, eloping, stemming, that you can introduce to a new generation. And that new generation can be like, oh, I read that somewhere. I think he's stemming. Or I think that's elopement, Mom. Like, how dope is that? Kid can recognize that. And then they grow up. That's the reason why I created my brand, you guys. I want to make a difference. That's the reason I did it.
Yay.
Thank you. But I cannot wait to talk to you offline, because I don't know about nobody else, but that was a major gem. The autism waiver was a major gem.
Yeah.
That was a major gem.
And I'm going to tell you, I found out, this is how the whole diagnosis with Roman went. I took him for a speech evaluation. And by the time I got there, because I had noticed he had started talking and then he stopped. So his speech was very delayed. And so we took him for a speech evaluation. And by the time I got there, I had read enough, and I researched, and I had actually worked with children on the spectrum when I was younger. And so, we're in the middle of the speech evaluation. She's asking these questions. And I said to her, look, I think my son's autistic. And she said, well, why do you think that? And I said, because the speech delay, and I ran down the checklist. And so at that point, she said, okay, since you've said that to me, this is what we need to do. She gave me an action plan. These are the steps that you need to take. And it changed the entire trajectory of that meeting at that point. And so I did everything she said. She said, you want to start with the waiver. You want to put him on that now. You want to get a pediatric evaluation. You want to do this. You want to call this organization because he has these characteristics, even though he does not have the evaluation yet, they will still take him. Do this. Literally, I was driving from one side of town. I would get off at like 5 o'clock in the morning and I would go. They would let me sleep on the couch because he was only there for an hour. It didn't make sense for me to drive. Like literally, you named it. And I did it. And so before I left, I said, let me ask you a question. Had I not said to you, I thought my son was autistic, is this how this meeting would have gone? And she said, no. I'm supposed to do a speech evaluation. I can't tell you what I think if it does not apply to what it is I'm supposed to do. But because you brought your concerns to me, I could then tell you how to navigate. And so I think sometimes what we have to remember is, and as crazy as it is, there are doctors, therapists, etc., that want to help us. But because of how the system is set up, whether it's being sued, it's, you're not trained to do this, or you're not a pediatric evaluator, so you can't give a diagnosis. Okay. But for me, I just feel like, yeah, it's a real thing.
Because my doctor couldn't diagnose my son. She told me he was 8 months.
Yeah.
We kept watching him, but she could not give me the referral until I asked.
Right.
So once he turned 1, I said, okay, he's still not speaking. He's still
and
not.
So that's why I tell people,
right.
Ask.
You have to bring it up. But you have to know. You have to know the flags. You have to know this is a sign of autism. This you have to research it. If you don't say time to research it,
you know how many times
know.
I've been at IEP meetings and I've heard teachers say this person is this, or this person is ADHD, or this person has signs of this and this. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, did you tell their parents? Did you say anything? Did you suggest? Well, no, because you know, and I get it, because you have parents that aren't going to necessarily receive the information right. So, it's a tough spot to be in. But for me, I would say this: if autism is giving me anything, I don't give two shits what nobody think about me. I really don't. Because I emotionally don't have the room to. My son can have a meltdown in the middle of a supermarket. I wish somebody, if you are not helping me, I don't want to hear a comment. I don't want a suggestion about how I should not discipline.
I hate that. They look at you like
my child. If you are not helping me, through this crisis, don't open your mouth. I see parents with kids that are simply having temper tantrums. And I will say, would you like me to take your cart so you can get out of here? You want me to go check your stuff out for you? Because I know the things that would have helped me if someone had did that for me. Like, you got to make a decision sometimes. Are we going to go to the grocery store or not? You got to go to the grocery store. But if Roman decides he don't want to be in that grocery store, or he don't want to wait in that line, I might have to leave an entire cart of groceries there. So, you know what I mean? So it's like you said, it's that judging eye. No, you need to help. If you don't know what you can do, how can I help? They might say, mind your business. If they say mind your business, go ahead. That's it.
Don't think like that. I told you it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. Like my son had a whole breakdown in the beauty supply store. And it was terrible. I literally what you said, I had to not shop, stop what I was doing, get him, calm him down, then leave, because he was not having it that day. And it was parents looking at me, and I'm not gonna say parents, people was looking at me, and I was just hoping they would have said something, because I was ready. Right. I was ready, because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Like, he's literally having a whole breakdown, and you think he's being bad, but he's not.
Right.
Being bad. And but do you have any closing remarks to add to this amazing episode?
No, just reach out. if you have questions, if you can't figure something out, I think I'm a pretty good researcher. And if I know something, I'm always willing to share or call somebody that I think might know. I love connecting people and resources. So I'm a good go-between. If you all get a chance, you can go to my website. It's www.hgedesigns.com. I have all of my crochet stuff up, but I'm doing a rebrand. So it will include sensory items, materials, sensory kits that parents can order. We can go through and I can show you how to create sensory items if you want to create. I know some people don't want to be bothered, and I will happily create them for you. And so the new website will be up by the end of the month, at least by May 1st, something like that. So you can still go, but the new rebrand and everything will be up in a little bit.
Can you say your website one more time, just in case anybody didn't hear that?
Yes, it's www.hgedesigns.com. And I'm also on Instagram, HGE_designs. Facebook is the same. Yeah, it's all linked. If you type in HGE Designs, everything should pop up.
Okay, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Now, next week, I'm closing out Autism Awareness Month with bringing a Black author who created a book about her son on the spectrum, just like I did. And it's just going to be Black authors. And we're just going to be talking about why we decided to get into the industry of being authors, and me being a coloring book author as well. So now I'm not going to spill, I'm about to go deep, but come next week, and that's how we close out Autism on a positive note. Because I'm pretty
I need to be there because y'all can help me get this book done, because the sister is struggling.
It's almost 6 months to get this book together.
Yeah.
6 months.
It's gonna be worth it though. It's gonna be fantastic.
I know. I'm so excited to launch this book. I can launch it now if I want it, but I keep going back, and I pick at things to the point where this perfectionist brain of mine is terrible. So the point where my son's therapist would look at my stuff and be like, "Crystal, there's nothing wrong with it. What's the problem?" I'm like, "You don't see that right there?" She said, "No, it's just you." I said, "Okay."
But see, that's why you get somebody else to do it though.
That's what I do. I normally get 2 or 3 people to look at my books and be like,
Okay.
to see. And if they say they point out the same issue that I saw, I say, okay, it's not just me. But most of the time, they look at me like I'm crazy. They say, "Chris, drop the coloring book." I'm just like, okay, I'm going to. It's I have not seen one coloring book about a Black kid that had autism on the spectrum yet. I haven't found one. I'm the only one. I'm the first, because I haven't found it. I've been looking. I see other races. We all know other races, but I don't see a Black kid.
Well, somebody got to be the first.
I guess it's me, because I was like, I need my son to see himself and all his stuff. So that's the reason why I did it. But you guys, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and I hope you like my guest. If anybody need her information, I will give it to you, because I'm about to hit her up for this autism waiver and so much more, because yes, queen. So like I said, tune in next Monday for our last episode about autism. And with that being stated, everybody have a good night, and tell Ro I said hey.
I will. Thank you. Good night.
Welcome. Bye.
Shit, my thinking different. People wicked. They be calling you special. I call you gifted. Won't forget it. My whole life changed after a visit. I was lost. The doctor said, "You're autistic." Listen, I'm thankful for God and all his blessings. As a parent, I think about life from my son's perspective.